The following podcast is a presentation of This Is Infamous. Listener discretion is advised.
Thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. No fanboy speak allowed here, as we only talk wrestling with intelligence, logic, and reasoning. I'm your host, Billy Donnelly. As always, you can find my work regularly at joeblow.com, as well as This Is Infamous. Jam-packed show this week. Lots to discuss, lots to talk about as we're in the go-home stretch towards SummerSlam Weekend, with the WWE having SummerSlam on Sunday, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2 on Saturday. So lots to preview as we get into those cards. Also going to talk a little bit TNA later in the show, and a new WWE suspension to sort of discuss as we make our way through. So lots of things on the table for this week's show. So strap in tight. Going to be a hell of a ride as we make our way through this podcast. So I don't want to waste any time because there's a lot to get to. So let's just start off. Look, I got a rant on tap. Okay, I do. I have a rant on tap that I've been itching to get into. And I want to just sort of get it out of the way right now, before we get into SmackDown, before we get into Raw, before we get into Impact Wrestling, before we get into any of that. There's something that I got to get off my chest as we kick off the show. Maybe it'll set the tone for the show. I don't know. I'm a little bit peeved, a little bit pissed off, a little bit angry at a particular group of wrestling fans who once again go out of their way to give wrestling fans a bad name. The people who just don't get it, don't understand, sort of have their own closed-minded, blinders-on way of looking at the world and looking at the thing they claim to love, the thing that they claim to be passionate about, which is professional wrestling. So I want to get into this really quickly about the misbehavior and asinine opinions of certain people as it relates to professional wrestling and professional wrestlers, WWE superstars, talent that they claim to be such big fans of. And it involves me going on the defense for the boss, Sasha Banks. Now, full disclosure, we all know 100% unapologetically I'm a Sasha Banks mark. I'm not even going to try to hide that. But this goes beyond being a fan of Sasha Banks. This goes to being a fan of wrestlers, respecting what they do, and empathizing, showing some sense of humanity towards the life that they live. So, just a couple of days ago, some guy, I'm not even going to credit him because, I mean, you could find it if you really want to. I'm not going to give him credit, and I'm not going to give him individual exposure because that's partially what he wants. But this guy tweets a picture of himself, clearly at the airport, having a photo taken of him with Sasha Banks. And he captions it, "Thanks for being cool to your fans," and tags her in the process, along with some other Sasha Banks hashtags. And what she does is she quote retweets it and says, "No, thank you for being an airport creeper. Those are my fave." Now, if you look at the picture, she clearly looks displeased with the fact that she is in this picture to begin with. Now, how this picture came to be, I don't know. I don't know the details of it. I don't know the breakdown of the story. I just know that she looks like somebody who doesn't want to be in this picture, like a hostage. And I would suspect that this is one of those situations where the dude just sort of was persistent to the point of annoyance, and she gave in just to get him out of her face and to leave her alone and to not be bothered anymore. Or he sort of snuck in and had somebody get ready to take a picture over there and sort of put her in a no-win situation where she just had to take this picture now. And as a result of this tweet, Sasha Banks' tweet, I have seen numerous discussions break out amongst the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community, or as I like to call them, wrestling fanboys, since we've commandeered the IWC moniker for this particular show, Intelligent Wrestling Conversation, which is what it should stand for. But I've seen this dialogue sort of break down and deteriorate about the nature of her tweet and sort of this idea that wrestlers owe the fans something because they support them and that's their job, and without the fans they would have nothing. But I'm here to kick off this show with the revelation for some of these people who don't seem to get it. WWE superstars, WWE talent, TNA wrestlers, indie wrestlers, whoever it is that you want that you're a fan of, owe you nothing. They don't owe you a damn thing. The only thing that is part of the contract between fan and performer is that the performer does what is within their power to entertain you and make sure that you get your money's worth. That's it. That's it. They're not required to take pictures with you. They're not required to sign autographs for you. They are not required to do anything that as a fan you feel entitled to because you have chosen to spend money on supporting the profession that they are involved in. They owe you nothing. And that's part of the problem that I see in this discussion, is that they somehow feel that this poor guy who Sasha Banks has singled out in a tweet has been wronged because, well, she should be happy that somebody's coming up and wanting to take a picture with her. She should be happy that somebody wants her autograph. She should be thrilled at the attention being paid to her because of the fan base. And to that, I say bullshit. To that I say, what a horrendous way of trying to essentially cage the very talent you claim to be so fond of. You know, when people have gone out of their way to call her a bitch or say she's moody or she has an attitude, and to that, once again, I call bullshit. Because I've seen the way that some fans, I'll use that quote loosely. I'll use it very loosely. Because I don't know what exactly they're fans of, except of being assholes. But I've seen people, and I'll give you a prime example. During WrestleMania weekend, the talent is all staying in one hotel. The WWE has everyone, their crew and their talent, all in one hotel, which is heavily secured by the staff of the hotel. So as a result, the fans are typically aware of where they come to stay, and they go and they sort of camp out there and they hang around the gated off areas in the hopes that maybe when a talent comes through to get into the hotel or to leave the hotel, that they might stop by sort of the fan corral and maybe take some pictures and sign some autographs. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've been right in there to witness it as well. And many times, talent will. They're more than happy to oblige a number of times to fans who just want a moment with the talent that they claim to love. They'll take pictures. They'll sign autographs. A lot of times, they don't want to do it for people they think are just going to, take their autograph and turn around and, sell it or put it on eBay. They're not necessarily crazy about those people. Sometimes they'll just do it because, they're being nice and they're in the moment. But other times, they don't want to. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they got plans. Maybe they got someplace to be or something else to do. Because they are human beings who also live their lives outside of professional wrestling. They want to go to dinner with friends. Maybe they just want to go up to the room and watch some TV. They got something else going on in their life. And when those moments happen, and these quote-unquote fans feel as if somehow they've been wronged, those are the words that you hear about the talent they claim to love. Bitch. Asshole. Jackass. He's too good for us. Moody. And that's not the way it is. Most often, a lot of these people are just demanding about something they feel that they should get. I got a little bit of advice for you if you encounter somebody that you're a fan of, be it an actor, an actress, a model, a writer, a sports figure, a professional wrestler, whatever. Be respectful. Be polite. Ask nicely. And hope for the best. If you do that, if you treat someone else with respect, more often than not, they will be respectful back to you, and in a number of times, they will be more than happy to give in to your request. And give you that moment, because they know that you're genuinely excited about this encounter. And they don't really want to send you away in a bad fashion, but sometimes, it's too much, because if you got to sign something for one, and you got to sign something for another, and another, and another, and then next thing you know, you're out there for an hour. An hour of your time has been given away. An hour of your life you're never getting back. And some people love that fan interaction, but other people want to just limit it. Or maybe, they need a night off from it, or, in that particular moment, they need a break. And look, if they tell you no, don't be an asshole about it. Don't be a jerk. Thank them for their time anyway. Once again, be respectful and polite. And come to understand that this just wasn't the moment this was going to happen. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly okay. But don't be a dick about it. So I don't know what the story was with this dude. I just know the fact that it made Sasha Banks uncomfortable. Now I know for a fact she's had some instances in the past of sort of stalkerish behavior from some, and when you're a woman in professional wrestling, you have to be doubly on guard. Especially when you're taking pictures and signing autographs with people, because you don't know how other people are going to behave, or when somebody's going to take it too far, or when somebody's going to step into the waters of making you uncomfortable by being inappropriate in some way, shape, or form. I've met numerous women's wrestlers, female superstars, who've been nothing but nice. Personable and charming and very nice. But I can also see how those interactions could go terribly wrong with the wrong person. And the men don't really have to deal with that. They don't. Typically, they're bigger, stronger, more imposing than the other person. And I'm not trying to present some argument as females are the weaker sex or gender. I'm not. I just know that there are certain dangers that exist for a woman, particularly a female wrestler even, that the men in the profession do not have to deal with or encounter regularly. So all I'm saying is, maybe, just maybe, you don't be a jerk about something like this. And you say, man, maybe I'll look at this and understand that these aren't just people behind a glass case or something. This is not a zoo where I just gawk at the wrestler and demanded a dance for me. Maybe I understand that this is a person who wrestling is a job for, and if I treat them respectfully as another human being, maybe, just maybe, we'll have an actual genuine moment between us. So that's my piece on that. I had to get it out of there. Wrestling fans are sometimes the worst people ever. All right. With that said, one note before we get into Raw and SmackDown, and then sort of break down what's going on with SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2. Prior to going on the air here today and rolling sound, firing up the mics for this particular episode, the WWE released news and information that Alberto Del Rio has been suspended 30 days for his first violation of the wellness policy. Now, look, I feel bad in a number of ways for Alberto Del Rio since his return. This has not gone well at all since he came back as a surprise challenger for John Cena's U.S. title last year, and then was sort of thrown into the League of Nations. I mean, it's been one misstep along the way after another for the WWE's creative team and what they wanted to do with Alberto Del Rio. I mean, this guy is just... There's been no rally of support for him, no character development, no nothing. They just threw him out there and said, well, fans probably remember who he is. And that was it. They just shortcutted it. So, I mean, this has been one terrible development after another for Alberto Del Rio, and this is sort of just the capper. You know, and there's been thoughts and rumors going around that he's been seriously unhappy and that he's probably going to opt out of his contract as soon as he can, and he'll go on his way again. And I can't blame him. You know, I think there's a lot more for Alberto Del Rio to offer the world than what we've been seeing as of late in recent months in the WWE. And I don't know what he tested for. I don't know what the violation of the policy was. But what I do know is that if you're a part of the main roster, if you're a regular part of the WWE's full-time talent, it's got to kind of stick in your craw just a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean a whole lot. That Alberto Del Rio has been suspended 30 days for violation of the wellness policy. And whatever happened with Brock Lesnar last month and his failed USADA samples stemming from his UFC 200 fight with Mark Hunt was basically just ignored. I mean, the WWE's strategy on this, as it relates to Brock Lesnar, was basically just don't talk about it, don't pay it any mind, don't pay it any attention, don't even acknowledge it. And now, Alberto Del Rio, much like Roman Reigns before, popped for this. He's going to shit on the shelf. I believe this is maybe the last we see of Alberto Del Rio in the WWE. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of negotiation or settlement to just keep him at home until he can be out and sort of everybody can just wipe their hands of this whole situation. But I think there's just sort of, it's problematic. There's a double standard of how the company treats employees. Or sorry, independent contractors. That if you are the big box office draw that Brock Lesnar is, they kind of turn the other way or go, I don't know what you're talking about. Pretend things never happened. If you're somebody like Alberto Del Rio or even Roman Reigns before, the second you get popped is the second they throw you into suspension. So not a good look. It's not a good look for the WWE on this one. Not one bit. So, I feel bad for Alberto Del Rio to a degree. You're still putting something in your body that doesn't belong there, in a violation of the wellness policy test. It is what it is. But I do have some sympathy for a man who very quickly had the hammer dropped on him right now. When just last month, we saw the hammer kind of put away for Brock Lesnar. So sort of disappointing news to hear that coming out of WWE headquarters up in Stamford. All right, let's talk about Raw and SmackDown this week and sort of what they did well, what they didn't, and how that then leads into SummerSlam. The biggest thing coming out of Raw was sort of the confrontation between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. Now, last week it was pretty clear that we were going to get Finn Balor's demon persona at SummerSlam. Finn Balor was going to go full demon as he has in NXT for the match against Rollins for the first ever WWE Universal title. And I thought that was something very cool and very exciting. Number one, SummerSlam, it's like WrestleMania Junior. It's the biggest card of the summer. It's what they build towards stemming out of WrestleMania. So, you really have three major cards throughout the year in the WWE calendar. I know Survivor Series gets thrown in there, but it's in November. It's kind of just there. It doesn't hold as much value as the other three. So you have the Royal Rumble in January, which of course builds towards WrestleMania, which is the other big one. And then you have SummerSlam. So it's really those three. So I thought, as being one of the biggest cards that they typically have in a calendar year, that they might save that Balor introduction, the entrance of the demon, the makeup, the whole theatrical element of it, for such a big stage in Brooklyn, which is typically a smart town for wrestling. And I don't mean smart in like a smarkish way. I mean it as just, New York is one of those towns that like they're hot and they're passionate and they love when wrestling comes to town. And as a result, you'll get a crowd who is really into what they're watching, very rabid about it. Now, remembering last year, as part of SummerSlam Weekend, when NXT TakeOver Brooklyn sold out the Barclays Center, same capacity as SummerSlam, a WWE event, the next night, you knew that a Finn Balor entrance at SummerSlam was going to sort of blow the roof off the place. It would have given you a reason. It would have given people a reason to tune into SummerSlam, to see this, or to have missed it and learn very quickly these events on the WWE Network are not to be missed. And I thought, this is going to be something very special for the WWE Universe. For people who haven't seen NXT, which a lot of people aren't, this is a really good example of what they might be missing out on, not tuning into NXT on a regular basis. And all that was sort of thrown away in order to have Finn Balor introduce what they're now calling the Demon King persona on Monday Night Raw. Now, look, I can understand it from a certain angle, okay? From a certain perspective. Monday Night Raw has a higher rating set than does SummerSlam. You get more people who turn into Monday Night Raw, who tune into SmackDown, than you would get who watch SummerSlam on the WWE Network. I mean, the numbers just bear that out. WWE programming on the USA Network draws more viewers, several millions every week, than what is lined up as the subscriber count for the WWE Network. I mean, you're talking a couple of million people. So as a result, putting that on free TV in the hopes of then luring people back to see it again on SummerSlam, I understand it from a certain perspective. From a commercial perspective, let's put it that way. I understand that. Because once again, this isn't show art, it's show business. You want to make money. You want to get people invested in watching your product. You want to lure people back to the WWE Network with, as a subscriber, you need to give them something on free TV that makes it worth their while to pay the money to get the rest of your content. I get that. I understand that point of view. Creatively, though, the spectacle of it, much better suited for SummerSlam. But you have to remember, this is one of the biggest events you have. So keep some of the bullets in your gun, man. Don't just unload everything 6 days before. Because then, if you're giving it all to somebody as it is for free, why would they then pay the $10 a month to go to the network? Why pay for the cow when they're already giving you all the milk you could ever drink for free? That's a problem. That's a problem. So I was disappointed that they didn't save what would have been a tremendously cool element for their big card. Instead, giving it away on Monday Night Raw and now sort of diminishing that moment for SummerSlam. For the people who pay. You know, that's the problem with sort of the paid subscription model versus the free model, is that if you're going to give everything away on television, then what value does a subscriber get out of paying money for more of your product? If you're getting less in paying more than others who are paying nothing, that's kind of where the gyp comes in. So just disappointed in that aspect. I also thought, the main event on the show, Rusev versus Roman Reigns, once again sort of fed into those problems. Once upon a time, when you could only see these things on pay-per-view, you drew people to your buy rate. You made people have to lay out money to watch what you wanted them to see. Or what they could see. When you were charging people $35, $40, $50 a month to see these matches, these moments, these feud resolutions, people got something out of it. Now, they're not really getting that. Your storytelling model has changed, and I don't know that it's for the best. So back to Rusev and Roman Reigns, which is scheduled to be for the United States title at SummerSlam. And these guys go out on Monday Night Raw. And they have a match for like 25 minutes in the main event. With a clean finish. And Roman Reigns going over Rusev. As Rusev claims this was sort of for the honor of how Lana was insulted during that horrifically dull wedding cake segment last week on Raw. And so now you set the bar so high for these two that it's going to be virtually impossible for them to clear 6 days later at SummerSlam. I've already now seen this match. So when it happens at SummerSlam, what do I give a shit for? Granted, I know now the U.S. title is on the line when it was just non-title at Monday Night Raw, and I understand story-wise what they're trying to do, which is make your champion look beatable heading into the match. This is what they've been doing in recent years. Make your champion look beatable, so then when they get to the match, the title match, there's some doubt as to whether they retain. But the problem is, number one, the match isn't special anymore because they've already seen it. And number two, they don't understand the damage that they are doing to these championship titles every time they have their champion lose. Think of it this way. And I'm going to step outside of the WWE realm a second and compare it to something else, because that's what the WWE always says. We're not competing with other wrestling companies. We're competing with all other sorts of content. We're not competing just with sports. We're competing with everything. But let me put it to you this way. Floyd Mayweather retired as an undefeated champion in the sport of boxing. Undefeated. Never beaten. And yet, he never gave off the sense that he could be beaten. He gave off the air that he was unbeatable. And he talked a lot of shit to get you to want to see him be beaten. So even though he would face guys at the down point of their careers, finding the right time to step into the boxing ring with a number of his opponents, you still had hope. You still had hope for them to maybe overcome the odds and achieve the unachievable to that point. Or, if you were a Mayweather fan, you watched to see something special. But along the way, Floyd Mayweather didn't create an aura around himself that said, oh, but look, that part of his game could be a weakness. No. Projected confidence. And as a result, you either rooted for him to do something special, or you rooted against him because you didn't like that aura about him. The WWE is doing this all ass backwards. They're in between making their champion as beatable as ever, so that then when they do retain their titles, that's the fluke part of it. It's not that they were defeated along the way that looks like a fluke. It's them retaining which looks like a fluke, which damages the value of your championships. A title holder in the WWE should never lose a match unless it's to relinquish the title. Otherwise, they should be made to look as the strongest title holder ever, so that then when they are defeated for that championship, it matters. What an unbelievable feat! They've been defeated. This new champion had to overcome some odds in order to win that belt. And now they look stronger for defeating what seemed to be undefeatable. So you know where we're going with this at SummerSlam? We're going with Rusev getting a win over Roman Reigns, I would imagine. And we're going with a match that I don't care to see because I just watched 25 minutes of it on Monday. So thanks for that, WWE. And this is at a time where I was really starting to understand how you were going to get Roman Reigns over as a babyface. Now, I don't really care. Because you couldn't help yourself and you still managed to figure out how to overexpose him. Ugh, it's just so frustrating. In addition, some of my other peeves I picked up this week on Monday Night Raw. A, there's no direction for Sami Zayn. Since this feud with Kevin Owens has sort of come to an end, no idea what to do with this guy whatsoever, which is a damn shame. And the other thing, which I've said time and time again on this particular show, is stop bringing wrestlers or WWE superstars to the announce table to sit with the commentators and talk about the match that an opponent is having in the ring. You already have 30 people in the booth. You have 30 people in the booth on Raw. You have 30 people in the booth on SmackDown. It's already crowded as it is. There's a lot of voices and a lot of people who are trying to get in their voice work in selling the product. Adding a fourth, it's a traffic jam. There's never enough time for them to really get anything substantial over for the feud is concerned. And it really mostly just comes across as awkward. You want them to do something like that? I've said this so many times. Go back to the picture-in-picture days where you just brought up the opponent, you stuck him in the corner in a window, and you let them cut a really short promo about their opponent. Because it's direct, it's focused, and it gets across a particular message from one talent to another in regards to their match and their feud. I know it's old school. I know it is. But you don't have to break the wheel all the time. It's old school, and once upon a time, it worked really well. Get back to using those tactics to help sell your match and your feuds. Because just having them sort of ramble on and joke around with the commentators, it's not cutting it. So, a couple weeks in a row on Raw now, the momentum that they had coming out of the draft is just screeched to a grinding halt. Or is it grinded to a screeching halt? Either way, it's stopped. It's done. And it seems like a lot of same old, same old. Well, we had some things that looked like, maybe they're changing for the... Nope, they're not. Still the same old shit. Just different packaging. They just put glitter on it. I mean, I think there are some positive things. The Finn Balor period is a positive thing, and I'll get to that when we predict SummerSlam. But they're still just stuck. They're stuck in their formulas. They're stuck in a way of thinking, and they can't break out of that. They're complacent. They're in a comfort zone, and they don't understand that they are strangling the product that they have by refusing to do the one thing that they claim they want to do, which is adapt with the times. Or just adapt, period. Adapt for the better. Just frustrating. Raw showed so much promise for a couple of weeks. We had a couple of weeks in a row. And now they're just back to the same thing, which is just, it's not compelling storytelling. It's not a good watch. It's not a good 3 hours of programming. It's not. So once upon a time when I was really hopeful heading towards SummerSlam, and look, I still am because I think it's going to be a good card on paper, and I think the talent will deliver. As it relates to story, I'm kind of let down by the Raw side of the equation. Now, SmackDown, on the other hand, which I think also has had a rocky road, I think there is one really strong thing they've managed to do coming out of the draft. And that is the complete rebuild and overhaul of Dolph Ziggler. I mean, it's only been a couple of weeks. But in allowing Dolph Ziggler some mic time, in allowing Dolph Ziggler to participate in a meaningful angle, in allowing Dolph Ziggler some character development, have once again raised Dolph Ziggler to the level of credible championship contender. It's incredibly important. And now going into SummerSlam, you have doubts about whether or not Dean Ambrose will retain the WWE Championship in that match. And you know what? It actually doesn't even matter if he does or not. Because I think the beauty of this whole angle, this whole feud, so to speak, is that Dolph Ziggler has been reborn and Dolph Ziggler has been repositioned as a legitimate heel in the making that you can use now at the top level of the SmackDown brand. Considering how damaged that guy was after all the stop and starts, after all the pulling the rug out from under his supporters and fans and those who believe that maybe one day Dolph Ziggler could get back up to the top of the mountain again, you have now given them a legitimate chance to believe and hope and respond to this turnaround. And that is the credit of the draft. Giving guys the opportunity to once again have sort of social mobility in the WWE talent hierarchy, to come up from where they were. I look forward to that match. I think Dolph Ziggler's going to put on a hell of a show now that he's once again given a meaningful opportunity. Not that he has slacked off at all. Dolph Ziggler, to me, is always consistently one of the best guys you can watch on any given night. Gets the ring psychology, tremendous seller, the comeback, the whole thing is there for him. And I think he's going to surprise a lot of people at SummerSlam who now get a chance to see him in a different light than just a guy who teases the win all the time and never quite gets there. All right, with that said, let's talk about SummerSlam and we'll talk about NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Let's start with Brooklyn first, since it's on Saturday night. I do legitimately think the match of the weekend contender is on the Brooklyn show, even though I haven't been particularly impressed with the build in the past few weeks as we've gotten towards TakeOver. I think it's been weaker than any of the TakeOver shows in recent memory. Maybe I'm not sure. The last one was kind of, so I think there is potential here for some tremendous matches. Don't get me wrong on that. I think we are going to get some really cool stuff out of TakeOver Brooklyn. I just haven't been all that crazy about building the matches to be meaningful, which I think is just sort of an overall WWE problem as they've been shuffling the deck with the draft. So you have 6 matches on the card for TakeOver Brooklyn 2. Number 1 would involve the debut of Ember Moon, which I'm really, really excited about. If you aren't familiar with Ember Moon, if you never got a chance to watch her as Athena, you can YouTube some of those clips, especially back from her days in Shimmer. tremendous female talent, and I think somebody that right now NXT needs desperately, given the state of their women's division. I mean, right now you have the two women who are going to be challenging for the women's championship at TakeOver, Bayley and Asuka, and then really there's a drop-off. I mean, you have like Peyton Royce, and you have Billie Kay, and you have Aaliyah, and you have, some women trying to find their mark, but they're not there yet. They're still in that developmental phase where they're very green and they're learning. So you still need some women at the top end to carry the division. I think Ember Moon has some experience going for her. She's been involved in women's wrestling for a while, and I think with them sort of hyping the debut, she's going to be sort of that next talent that helps inject some energy into the top tier of the women's division. So who she's going to square off with in her debut, I do not know, but I am looking forward to it a great deal. And I think people are going to be surprised and sort of blown away by Ember Moon right out of the gate. No Way Jose versus Austin Aries. That's a pretty cool feud that's been going on right now. And look, No Way Jose is this dude's over. Austin Aries, I think, has sort of stalled out a little bit. I think he just a victim of bad timing, and when he debuted in the WWE, or NXT rather, which is really right around the time that we got Shinsuke Nakamura, and I think he just sort of got lost in the shuffle. So I don't know which way this match is going to go. I would think maybe No Way Jose. I think Austin Aries actually might be short on time down in NXT. I think he'd actually just benefit from being called up at some point very soon. So we'll see how that shakes out. But I think No Way Jose, getting him over as a babyface might work here. I mean, not that he's not over already, but now I'm talking myself out of it. I think Austin Aries getting a win, healing it up, gets him a little bit further over as a heel and gets some sympathy on No Way Jose as your babyface. So I'm going to pick Austin Aries in that match. Tag team championship match. This is my pick for match of the weekend. I shit you not. I think this one's going to steal the whole weekend. I think it's going to be a tremendous match. And that's considering the fact that we have a lot of other fantastic matches throughout the weekend scheduled. But I think the Revival, Dawson and Dash and Dawson, versus Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT Tag Team Championship. That's your match of the weekend, right there. The Revival is so good. So good. I watched them steal the show numerous times with American Alpha. And I think Gargano and Ciampa have the right dynamic between them, right moveset to make for an exciting match, and I think the chemistry with the Revival will be there. I think the Revival retains. I think this helps cement Gargano and Ciampa as an actual tag team and not just two guys from the indie circuit that they put together because of smart fans' familiarity with them. But I think this is going to be a tremendous match, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. Andrade Almas versus Bobby Roode. Look, Cien Almas has had a tough go since he's debuted on the NXT shows. Just haven't been able to figure out how to get this character going, which is a shame because I've seen him work in the ring. I saw him work house shows before he was brought on TV. Really exciting to watch, and I think they're dropping the ball with him on TV by sort of like make him into a character as opposed to just letting him do what he does. And look, and this is Bobby Roode's first big match now, his debut in ring at NXT. So Bobby Roode's going to get that win, and but I don't think that's going to be the last we see of these two guys squaring off in a feud. Asuka versus Bayley. Look, would I love to see Bayley retain as the two-time or capture the title and become the two-time women's champion in NXT? Absolutely. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Bayley's time heading towards the main roster is coming. I think this is sort of the last gasp of Bayley in NXT, who is sort of a victim of her own success, considering sort of the fact that there is a drop-off in the women's talent between her and Asuka and everybody else, as I mentioned moments ago. But I think there's nothing left for her to accomplish there. She's sort of just spinning her wheels. So I think this is sort of the farewell for Bayley, challenging for the title. We'll start to see her on the main roster shortly thereafter. I look for Asuka to retain. And I think the same thing can be said for Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura, which I think will be a tremendous match. I like Nakamura very quickly to capture that NXT championship here at TakeOver Brooklyn 2. I think Samoa Joe also short on time down in NXT, having spent there so much time there already. And also, even though his title reign will only have been short-lived, having captured it from Balor not too long ago before he was sent up via the draft, I think Samoa Joe will be soon debuting on the main roster as well, so I would look for Nakamura to sort of carry the torch moving forward, capturing the title at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2. All right, let's get into SummerSlam predictions as well. A lot of matches on the card. Look, this is a lot of show. It's a 4-hour show, plus the pre-show. You got a lot of wrestling on Sunday night as part of SummerSlam. I do not expect you to watch all of it. I do not know what is scheduled for the pre-show as of yet and what's for the main card. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 matches, period. So I think there's one women's 6-man tag that's been added this week, might be in the pre-show. You might also get the kickoff of this best of 7 series between Sheamus and Cesaro on the pre-show, which would be a shame because I think they're going to put on a tremendous effort. I think both guys really have a lot to prove. Sheamus in trying to once again rebrand himself and not be sort of stuck where he is right now. I think he has a lot to prove, and Cesaro also just, this is a guy who looked like he was on the ascent heading towards the draft, and now that seems to have been cut off. So I think both of these guys are going to show what they can do in the ring with each other, and I think it should be a pretty tremendous affair. So Ava Marie, Natalya, and Alexa Bliss versus Carmella, Naomi, and Becky Lynch. I think this might be the time when Ava Marie actually does debut and get some heat on her for getting a win in that respect. And as far as the best of 7 series kickoff, I like Cesaro getting the first notch on his belt against Sheamus. And look, that one's going to go the distance. It's going to go all 7 matches, I promise you that. But I like Cesaro getting the win early on. All right, Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. Enzo and Big Cass, I think, get the win as they keep rising up. I think Jericho and Owens have nothing really to lose here in helping put those guys over. And being the heels that they are, could they cheat to win? It's very well possible. But I think what we're going to wind up with here is Enzo and Big Cass getting that big rub. And maybe we see something between Jericho and Owens that allow those guys to have a program moving forward. Because right now, much like Sami Zayn, I think they're just sort of stuck in a spot where WWE doesn't know what to do with them. The New Day versus Gallows and Anderson for the WWE Tag Team Championship. Look, the New Day's been carrying this forever, and they are the longest reigning tag team champions in WWE history, and I've been saying for a while now that I think it might be the time for them to take it off them, but I don't know. This Gallows and Anderson situation, and the testicle jokes, I'm not quite sure is resonating. I think there's still something missing with those two guys that they could benefit with a package with the Balor Club if that's the way they want to go. But we're going to see. I like the New Day to retain, though. I think there's still a lot of mileage they want to get out of these guys, and I don't think that they have gotten it all out yet. So I would look for the New Day to retain and keep riding this train as they try to rebuild the tag team division on Monday Night Raw. Because right now it's the New Day, Enzo and Cass, Gallows and Anderson, and then the drop-off is tremendous. So, you don't want to see the titles sort of hot potatoed around. But I think Gallows and Anderson need to keep on going a little bit further before they wind up being the team that takes the titles off of the New Day. John Cena versus AJ Styles will also be a showstopper. We've seen it before. We're going to see it again. I like Styles to get the nod this time around, even though John Cena has been, the guy all the time. I think there's something there. They need talent to take to the next level in order to build the SmackDown brand. John Cena has already been established for a long, long, long time. AJ Styles still has come a long way very quickly since debuting in January for the WWE, and I think a big marquee victory at SummerSlam would be huge for him. So I'm picking Styles in that match. Intercontinental Championship is on the line as The Miz defends against Apollo Crews. Look, I'm still a guy who's down on Apollo Crews, and I still don't know that they've done enough with him in order to register him as a legitimate Intercontinental Champion were he to come away with the victory. I think they need more character work and an identity formed for Apollo Crews before they put any strap around his waist. And I think The Miz is a tremendous heel, and I think can go a long way towards helping talent get over as baby faces as being the right foil for them. So I think The Miz keeps that Intercontinental title around his waist, and I think there's more good things to come with him holding that belt. Maybe that is where the Sami Zayn feud comes up next, even though can't happen with The Miz being on SmackDown and Sami Zayn being on Raw. Foiled again by the draft. Thanks for nothing. All right, United States Championship is on the line when Rusev defends against Roman Reigns. I already made my thoughts on that earlier in the show. I like Rusev to retain and get a big win over Roman Reigns to keep the Rusev train rolling, even though I think both guys now suffering damage as a result of that Monday Night Raw matchup earlier in the week. Women's Championship, Sasha Banks defends against Charlotte with Dana Brooke being banned from ringside. You just put the belt on Sasha Banks. I don't think they're going to jockey this thing back and forth. Bayley may be coming up, and you may wind up seeing a feud there at some point. I would think Charlotte and Bayley would be a great place to start, and we'll figure out some place for Sasha Banks to go next. But I think Sasha Banks retains, and that is also another match I think might be right up there for match of the weekend. Right below the Revival and Gargano and Ciampa, and then probably maybe Banks and Charlotte. So keep an eye out for that one. It's going to dazzle you. WWE Championship on the line, Dean Ambrose against Dolph Ziggler. I think Ambrose retains, still fresh as the champion and the face they want to build SmackDown around, but you're going to get a hell of a showing from Dolph Ziggler, and I think this is going to be one of those matches that once again gets him back up to the next level and gives them a top flight heel on SmackDown going forward. So I don't think this is the first time we'll see these guys wrestle in a main event. I don't think it'll be the last time, rather. And I look forward to all the things to come that this feud will get to once you have Ziggler as much more of a clear-cut heel than sort of a tweener who's transitioning. So good things on the way from those two guys. And Brock Lesnar... Oh, actually, let me skip once again. Let's go there. Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton. Look, I like Randy Orton to get this win. I really do. I know that there's been a lot on Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar is the box office draw, but I think there's some more legs to get out of this thing. If even with everything that you've got going for Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, like that, hits that move, and that's it. You want to make that move seem so devastating all over again? You have him hit that move with Brock Lesnar, and that's it, lights out. Because that's how you get a move over. Randy Orton can take suplexes upon suplexes upon suplexes upon suplexes upon suplexes and still come back, but one RKO takes out the beast. Oh, it'll be tremendous. I like Randy Orton there in that match. I really do. Just something in my gut telling me so. Because I think you also got to bring Brock Lesnar down a peg a little bit. Right now, he just seems too unstoppable. You need to have something. You need to have stoppable. Stoppable has to exist. I think that's how you do it. And for the Universal Championship, Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. I like Finn Balor in this match. They're bringing out the Demon. First time Demon's in a match. On that grand stage, in front of that crowd. You can't go Rollins. You just can't. You just can't. Finn Balor is my pick. You want a fresh start for Monday Night Raw? Do it with a fresh face. Finn Balor. Mark my words. It's going to be your WWE Universal Champion. All right, really quick, let's talk about TNA. Aron Rex debuted this week on Impact Wrestling. The former Damian Sandow, I thought, with a real strong opening promo. And, TNA has been doing very well creatively as of late if you've been missing out on this. So you look at some of the guys that they have right now at the top of their card, and they're really entertaining. Matt Hardy is Brother Nero. You have EC3. You have Drew Galloway. Now you have Aron Rex. Bobby Lashley's doing a hell of a job. Mike Bennett. Don't miss out on TNA right now, but I thought a really strong debut from Aron Rex on Impact Wrestling. So if you were a fan of Damien Sandow and you wish that he got more of an opportunity in the WWE, now's your chance to see him get a real big opportunity in TNA and make something of himself. So you want to make sure you tune into that on Pop TV. And also, the big announcement coming out of TNA, Billy Corben. Not Billy Corben, that's my friend. Director, documentarian. Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins fame. Now the new president of Impact Ventures. This means he is the new president of TNA, with Dixie Carter now just the chairman of Impact Ventures and the chief strategy officer. So Billy Corgan going to be more involved on the day-to-day runnings of TNA, which I think is a big deal to a certain degree. I think just sort of a overall changing of the guard does a lot for people's perception of the product, for those wrestling fans who have had long since had a problem with Dixie Carter. And once again, as you've seen, sort of creative has come a long way in what TNA has been doing. So give it a second look. And don't just watch one episode and then write it off. Like, give it like a month. This is what I'm telling you. Sit down and watch TNA. Go find Pop TV on your cable and sit down and watch Impact Wrestling for a month. Just 1 month. Straight through. 1 whole month. Give it 4 weeks of your time. If after those 4 weeks it still doesn't do it for you, you could say, Billy, I gave it a shot. It just isn't for me. And I'll say, all right, that's fine. At least you were open-minded. But if you like it, yeah, we got something going. If you like it, well, now you just got more wrestling to commit to on a given week. So, look, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. With that said, though, look, it's a big weekend. So, lots of wrestling. Lots of hours of wrestling to tune into as part of SummerSlam Weekend. But I think you're going to enjoy it. I think there's lots of good matches. Even though the feuds and the build-up haven't been as strong as I would like, I think you got some tremendous wrestling matches you're going to get on Saturday and Sunday. So, make sure you tune in for all those. Get your beers, get your sodas, get your popcorn, get your chips, whatever it is that you snack on. Get yourself motivated and situated on your couch, unless you're going to Brooklyn, in which case, kudos to you. Enjoy the show. But if you're going to be watching it at home, get ready, because I think you're going to get 2 nights of really solid wrestling on your television. With that said, let's get the hell out of here and send you off into SummerSlam Weekend. Make sure you hit us up on all the social media at the IWC Show. That's the official Twitter handle of Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. So when we put up a new show, you can be notified there to look out for it at the IWC Show. Also at Tiz Infamous. That's for the mothership of This Is Infamous. So at TIS, Tiz Infamous. Make sure you follow us there too. And myself, all my random ramblings and musings, my stream of consciousness put into the written word in 140 characters or less at Infamous Kid on Twitter. Make sure you follow me there. I tweet pretty regularly. Facebook, 2 pages, facebook.com/tizinfamous, facebook.com/bullythekid. Always interesting discussion threads for you to take part in over there. So participate, like those 2 pages, and participate over on Facebook. Podcast can be found wherever podcasts can be found. So you found us here once, but if you have a preferred method that you'd rather go through, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Blueberry, SoundCloud, we're out there. Just search for Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. Make sure you subscribe to the show so that it's brought to you, to your device, period. Every single brand new show, whether it's your phone or your tablet, so you never miss out on an episode of Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. So make sure you subscribe. Also, you like and you rate and you comment. That's also important. So just do that for us. It takes a couple of seconds out of your time, and it's greatly appreciated by me to let us know that we're doing a good job to spread the word to other people and to help get us positioned in a better spot on all those places. So once again, podcasts can be found wherever podcasts can be found. Want to send me an email? Go ahead and do it. theiwcshow@gmail.com. Comments, feedback, questions. You send it in, something interesting, we could easily bring it up and talk about it on the show. So just send it to me, theiwcshow@gmail.com. Read them all personally, and if there's something good there, we'll bring it here onto a new episode. Look, my work you can find on a regular basis, joeblow.com, thisisinfamous.com. So check it out. Always good stuff I'm putting out into the world, or at least I think so. With that being said, I've been your host, Billy Donnelly. This has been Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. I'll see you back here next week as we break down SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2 with analysis and intelligence. Until then, have yourself a pleasant immediate future and one hell of a SummerSlam weekend. I'm out for now. Peace. Intelligent Wrestling Conversation has been a podcast presentation of This Is Infamous.